Bali, the Instagram fantasy land where everyone's either meditating on a cliff, sipping coconuts in infinity pools, or pretending to find themselves in Ubud. But here's the twist. 2025 isn't the year of finding yourself in Bali, it's the year of losing your tourist visa, your patience, and possibly your sanity. Yep, you heard that right. Tourists are suddenly avoiding Bali, and it's not just because they've run out of beach poses. From strict new rules to angry locals, from environmental disasters to the dreaded tourist tax, Bali's reputation as paradise on earth is starting to feel a lot more like paradise with terms and conditions. Let's unpack the messy, chaotic, and sometimes hilarious truth about why people are saying, nah, not Bali this year. The paradise tax, literally. So here's the first curveball. Bali has decided that visiting paradise now comes with an entry fee. As of 2025, every foreign tourist is required to pay a mandatory levy, about 150,000 rupiahs or around $10 US. Now, $10 doesn't sound like much until you realize it's not just one fee. You're still getting hit with hotel taxes, airport fees, scooter rentals that cost more than your daily diet of nasi goreng, and the occasional foreigner price that mysteriously doubles overnight. Tourists on Reddit are already calling it the paradise tax, and it's rubbing people the wrong way. Not because it's expensive, but because it feels like Bali is cashing in on its popularity at the expense of hospitality. And trust me, nothing makes a traveler grumpier than feeling like an ATM with flip-flops. But hey, if money was the only issue, tourists would still come. The real problem? Bali's not just taxing people, it's policing them. The tourist rulebook. Bali in 2025 comes with the user manual, and spoiler alert, you probably broke 5 rules before breakfast. Authorities have issued strict regulations on tourist behavior. No climbing sacred temples for selfies, no indecent clothing near holy sites, no reckless driving, no rowdy parties in local neighborhoods. Basically, they've taken the worst tourist Instagram fails and turned them into laws. Sounds fair, right? But here's the catch. Enforcement is intense. Entire task forces are patrolling tourist hotspots, handing out fines, and in some cases, deporting rule breakers. Yep, imagine getting booted out of paradise because you couldn't resist TikToking on a temple staircase. For some tourists, Bali's vibe is starting to feel less like Eat, Pray, Love and more like Cops Island edition. And if you think strict rules kill the vibe, wait until you see how overcrowding is choking the very soul of Bali. Over-tourism, paradise on pause. Here's the irony. Bali is a victim of its own success. With over 6 million international visitors flooding in last year alone, the island is bursting at the seams. Imagine Times Square, but with scooters honking, surfboards swinging, and yoga mats as far as the eye can see. Traffic jams that turn a 20-minute ride into a 2-hour ordeal. Beaches so packed you're basically tanning shoulder to shoulder, and rice fields that are now rice field-shaped Airbnb pools. Locals are starting to complain loudly, saying tourism is destroying their culture, their environment, and their peace. Some villages have even staged protests demanding restrictions. Suddenly, the postcard version of Bali, the serene, untouched paradise, is being replaced with something more like, well, Disneyland but with worse Wi-Fi. And speaking of Wi-Fi, tourists aren't just stuck in traffic. They're starting to feel unsafe in paradise. Safety scares and natural disasters. Floods, earthquakes, landslides. Bali's got a serious case of Mother Nature's mood swings. Just last month, flash floods swept across parts of the island, killing more than a dozen people and leaving tourists stranded in their hotels. Add in scooter accidents, the #1 cause of tourist hospital visits, and suddenly paradise comes with a side order of danger. On top of that, health concerns are creeping in. Dengue fever outbreaks, water pollution, and overcrowded hospitals mean that the dream vacation could turn into a medical nightmare. Travelers who once flocked to Bali for adventure are now quietly asking, is this trip worth the risk? But safety is just one layer of the onion. Peel it back and you'll find something even spicier. Locals aren't exactly rolling out the red carpet anymore. The growing backlash from locals. In 2025, many Balinese locals are openly fed up with what they see as disrespectful, entitled tourists. Imagine living in a spiritual village and waking up every morning to a tourist trying to film yoga reels on your family's shrine. Yeah, you'd be annoyed too. Locals complain about noise, traffic, cultural erosion, and tourists who treat Bali like their personal playground. Some have even taken to social media, posting videos of bad tourist behavior to shame them online. That viral name and shame trend? It's making foreigners nervous, because in Bali now, if you mess up, you don't just get fined, you get famous, for the wrong reasons. And if you thought angry locals were a problem, let's talk about the economy, because paradise doesn't run on coconuts. The hidden costs of a Bali holiday. The dream of Bali as a budget traveler's haven is fading fast. Accommodation prices are climbing, food costs are rising, and the gap between local wages and tourist expenses is creating tension. In some places, locals can't even live in their own neighborhood because Airbnbs have driven rent sky high. Tourists are starting to feel the pinch too. When the price of your avocado toast in Bali rivals Los Angeles, you know something's off. Backpackers who once stretched their dollars for months are now skipping Bali altogether, heading to cheaper alternatives like Vietnam or Cambodia. The paradise bargain, it's expired. But don't think this is all doom and gloom, because some tourists are still loyal. The question is, for how long? What the future holds for Bali. So where does Bali go from here? Some experts say stricter rules and fees are necessary to protect the island from collapsing under its own popularity. Others argue it risks killing the magic that made Bali special in the first place. The future seems caught between two extremes: becoming an exclusive luxury destination or losing tourists altogether to less crowded rivals. One thing's for sure, 2025 has already shaken up Bali's global image. From paradise to problem child, Bali's tourism story is no longer about the beaches and temples. It's about the battle between money, culture, and sustainability. So is Bali still worth it? That's the million rupiah question. For some, the beaches, temples, and sunsets will always outweigh the hassle. For others, the taxes, rules, and chaos are deal breakers. But here's the kicker. Bali's struggles aren't just Bali's problem. They're a warning sign for every travel hotspot around the world. When paradise gets too popular, paradise stops feeling like paradise. Now, I want to hear from you. Would you still pack your bags for Bali in 2025? Or are you crossing it off your bucket list? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, smash that like button if you learned something new, and subscribe for more documentaries that peel back the postcard and show you the real picture. Because trust me, the travel world is way juicier than the brochures let on.